Hello, everyone. This is Caroline again with Thriving Abroad, our expat interviews. And before we came on, I was telling my guests that it would take us about 3 hours just to talk about the amazing things that she has done in the expat space, but we're going to try to condense it. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to talk with her. She's a professional life and travel coach. She's a motivational maven, an Army vet, co-founder of an academy for children. She has just done so much uh, and is thriving abroad, and I wanted you to meet her. Thank you so much, Tasha. Pierre, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I wanted to just go back as I do, which I feel is important. How did you get to, you're currently living in Germany now,
Yes,
and
correct.
um, and it's more for work than actually you decided to move there, but just tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, actually, it started about 15 years ago. I was traveling back and forth, working in actually. I was self-employed. I did business to business marketing for several years, and I just stay in London for like 3, 4 months at a time. And that's when I started getting the traveling bug. And I decided, you know what, I want to go ahead and probably move abroad full time. I was actually, like I say, I'm a veteran of the United States Army. And I've also been a counselor for over almost a year. So I decided I wanted to go into advocacy. So I went back into the government and I became a victim advocate where I help sexual assault clients. And I got a promotion to move abroad. I took it. Germany was not on my list to come to be honest. I'd never thought about relocating to Germany, but I took the position and I'm not going to complain. I love Germany. We've been here for over 5 years and it is home. So what I do over here is I help sexual assault clients who have been sexually assaulted, Americans who are here in Europe. I'm the victim at 6 installations, military installations here in Europe, including Germany as well as England as well. And actually, what I do, we just like you stated, we just started the Bethesda Kingdom Kids Academy. That's in Haiti, my husband and I, where we help underprivileged children. So we go back and forth there. We actually have the opening starting in April. I'm so excited about that. We've actually helped about 13 kids thus far. We're going to start with 20. And as time progresses, we'll be able to expand it a lot more. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I think we're getting bad connection.
Are,
I can hear you now. Yeah,
oh,
I
okay,
think we have
okay.
bad connection.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think our connection is faulty. First, I wanted to say that I am saddened that a position such as yours actually exists.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate that that sort of thing does go on, but I'm really happy that there are people such as yourself that can offer the much needed assistance, and not just in the military space. I feel like a lot of the women also in our group, have similar stories to tell. So it's
Yeah.
wonderful and important work that you're doing.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
so you are living in Germany. What has it been like? You've been there 5 years. What is life like in Germany? We don't always think of, most of us think of going to warm places. We don't always think of going, like, and you were in England. What is
Yes.
it like there? What is it like for a Black American citizen living in Germany? And not aside from the military aspect, because I know there is a lot of military personnel, but just your everyday, day to day. What is that like?
Well, to be honest with you, the military is I actually intertwine with the German community. My family, we're always, because we live in the German community. I actually go to the military installation and I travel a lot for work. So I just utilize that as work. Since we've been here 5 years, I'd say the first year I have a college student and I have a daughter who's a junior in high school. My son, he plays football in the States. But when we first moved here, he was a freshman in high school. And it was kind of hard for them to go ahead here. They've all been in the States. They've traveled abroad, but we've never really lived long-term abroad. But actually what we did, and I'll sum that up, as a family, we sat down and we stated, you know what, the Germans didn't ask us to come here. We decided to come here, so we need to learn to embrace the culture. So what we did, we've traveled, we've learned a lot about the culture, we've learned the language. I'm not too good at it, but we're learning. My son has played semi-professional football, so he's a little the rest of us. But after we did that, intertwining with our neighbors about the culture, trying, it's been wonderful. I'm not going to say that we haven't seen anything that came abroad as far as prejudice. That's everywhere. That's everywhere. And then I always tell a lot of individuals, even my clients that decide to move abroad, you know what? Don't expect the unexpected. They're not asking to come. You come here. So learn on the culture and think positive. And that's what we did. Since we've been on this positive path, Germany's home. I can say Germany's home to us. We've really enjoyed it. And it'll be sad if we do decide to get ready to leave, but I don't see that anytime soon coming.
Wow, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
you found your home spot.
I did. I really did. Like I said, it wasn't our first choice, but when we came, we learned to think positive, and it's become home for us.
Well, that's really good to hear. We often, again, as I said before, we often don't, Germany's certainly not a list of places that, people, especially in our diaspora, think of putting on our short list for places to live. And I'm really excited to know that you feel comfortable there. And, it is a possibility for of places that we could think about. What are some, and we all do, I've been an expat for 13 years, and I know
Yeah.
there's always something that you could look back and say, wow, if I had only, prepared better. Is there something that you can think of that, in your years of living abroad, that you could say, wow, well, if I had maybe if an afterthought, I should have done this in my
Yeah.
preparation for living abroad?
Well, to be honest, like I said earlier, as far as don't expect the unexpected, that was my problem, and I'll just back on when I speak with my clients a lot in regards to that, and it's from my experience. Every time I speak with them about traveling and moving abroad, especially the females, don't expect the unexpected, because a lot of us, we leave the United States, and I'm speaking of the United States because I'm an American. When we come abroad, we think everything's supposed to be that way, and we have to get that out of our mind, and that's something I had to learn. I expected the government to be the same. I expected the individuals to be the same. I expected everything to be the same, the way we did it in the United States. And the downfall of that was it hurt, because I stood up there and I finally realized, I said, you know what? This is not my home country. Everybody lives differently. And that's when I spoke earlier, when I stated I had to learn to embrace the culture. When you embrace the culture and get to know them and how they live, then you'll have a better understanding. So if I could have did that, that's something I would have worked on. And that's what I tell a lot of individuals when I speak with them in regards to this journey. Don't expect the unexpected.
That is that is such good advice. I agree with you, because we do. I think one of the first things that I always tell people to do, what you've just said, is you've got to just leave your mind, your cultural mind, in a suitcase behind. Just make sure you put it in a suitcase and leave it behind,
Right.
and move forward with a totally clean slate, because it is.
Exactly.
It is important. Now, you also are you mentioned you're a professional life and travel coach.
Mhm.
What do you do in that space?
Basically, in that space, I have a few clients. It's basically exactly what you do. And it's male and female, actually, that I work with. When they're deciding to move abroad, I actually speak with them one on one, coach them as far as their mood, help them through the transition, motivate them. Also, as far as Motivational. That's more side of the women's part. I work with women, actually motivating, especially with this during hard time that we have going on. A lot of women, they want to travel. They're scared to travel. They're scared to go these places. And a lot of them don't want to travel alone. So I do coach them in regards to that. More on a motivational piece, I'd say, just giving them that extra push. But I do that part-time. I have a few clients. I'm looking at expanding that a little larger in a at full time basis after this, but right now it's just a part time situation that I do because I enjoy helping people.
So do you find that that's one of the number one issues with women that are thinking of going abroad to live? Just the fear of flying, maybe, or just being fearful of leaving the country? Because I, I know a lot of us veterans that have
Mhm.
traveled a lot, we sometimes forget that there are women who've never left the United States. They've never stepped foot outside of the country. So
Mhm.
it totally is a different dynamic for them, right? As opposed to
Yes.
us. What are you finding is the number one fear factor for women?
It's funny you say that. I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of my clients lately, family. Family is telling them you're going to a place that you do not have family. We cannot reach you. What if something happens? The fear of what if, and it gets in their head, and that's what scares them and pushes them back. And I've explained to a lot of my clients just a little bit on that is, what, it's best to keep it to yourself, get all your eggs in a row, plan everything. So therefore, when you have everything set in stone, you can let your family know and they'll feel a little more comfortable, but you've already got everything situated because that right there can be a hinder of you trying to be able to go and, accomplish what you want to do.
Yeah, and also, I wonder if you agree with me. I do, I'm in a lot of expat groups, and I see a lot of people
Yeah.
who are asking others for advice as to where should I go, and I feel like that is such a big mistake. I feel that people aren't doing enough research on places that they within themselves feel would be a good fit. And I see so many expats, they wind up in a country and they're head over
Yes.
topsy turvy. and
Yes.
I just cringe every time I see someone say, hey, I want to come there too, with no, so do
Are we
you
the same person? I feel the same way.
I just had to get that out there because I've been wanting to say this for so long. Please stop asking other people and research. Why is it? I mean, can you speak on the fact that we don't do enough research? I have people saying, "Hey, you know, uh, I'm coming to that town. Could you find me a place to stay?" Or why is it that we're not doing enough research? What is it that is stopping us from really getting down, sitting down and looking at all of our, dotting all of our T's and what is it? What do you think is causing us to just jump into the cauldron without really checking things out, the landscape first?
To be honest, and I'm glad you brought that up. My husband, I've done that on our podcast a lot. I've spoke on that, about research, research, research. I'm telling my clients that all the time. A lot of individuals, I think a lot of it, what they do is they see the fairy tale on TV. I'll be honest with you. And they hear the stories and they think it's going to be peaches and cream. It's this easy. Let's just go ahead and go abroad. I'm going to let everything, all my problems, and leave them back in the States. And I'm going to go here and everything's going to be miraculously changed. Well, I tell a lot of them, you can't do that. You got to research, and just because what may be good for me in Germany may not be good for you. This may not be the place for you. I can tell you all the highlights and the wonderful things about Germany, but when you get here, this may not be exciting to you, because each individual is different. That's why I'm always stressing visit, travel, get to see different places. You can't just jump up. This is a big decision when you decide to do this. It's a big move. Your whole life, you're going to another country, and you got to learn the laws, the culture, you know. a lot of things entail in regards to this, and a lot of them don't research. It's just quickly getting on there. What do you think about me moving here? I got $10,000 in my account. Will this help me out? I can't do that, sweetie. You can't do that. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound redundant on that, but it's a big thing with me. I tell them, they hear a lot of these stories, and I do. And you know what's good for some people are good for them, but they hear a lot of individuals who tell them, well, you know what, I had a class and they said that they could go overseas, and they've just been going from country to country and just working on the computer. That's good for them. That's good for them. You know, you got to think about what's good for you, because maybe that not may not be your niche. You get there and you're stuck in a country. How are you going to survive? You know, you have to research. That's anywhere you go, even in your own country. When you're moving somewhere, you got to be stable, make sure everything's laid out for you. So why are you going to move to another country that you're not familiar with no plan?
Yes, you are
Yeah.
preaching to the choir right now. Yes,
I
yes.
know when you said that, I was like, oh.
What is the how long are Americans allowed to stay in Germany?
They are basically, if they get a visa, it's up to a year, and
Oh,
they can
okay.
yes, I'm on a SOFA visa for over 6 years, and then I can extend that because I work for the government. But they can do a year and then they can extend it, and it depends on the German government how long they can stay after that. But they can apply for, I think it's after for 5 years after their second stint, and they could stay for 5 years and work, and then try to go
Oh,
ahead and go after that.
now do you have to prove? I mean, if you're working online as a, digital person, do you have to prove?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yeah,
Okay.
if you're a digital nomad, you have to go ahead and prove that and show suffice all the information.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Uh, Overall, and you know, all over Europe, everywhere, there's you know,
Mhm.
there's all kinds of um, mm, things going on. People are stepping out and voicing their opinions and how they feel. How is the mood in Germany overall? Are they accepting of outsiders overall? The general feel for you know, with the turmoil, with you know, the stuff
Yeah.
that's happening. How are they accepting of others coming into their space right now?
You know, to be honest, I stay in the countryside, and at first that was kind of hard for me moving from Las Vegas to the countryside. But I do enjoy it, and we have a lot of Germans in my neighborhood who are they're older Germans, you know. And what I always say is these are the older ones, and their mind frame is totally different. And we did have problems the first couple of years here, you know, until they got to know us, because they were not used to seeing a person of color in their
Sure.
neighborhood, to be honest with you.
Yep.
You know, we got the ugly looks. We got some of the we have a puppy, and they would complain about our puppy, whereas everybody else's dog was in their yard, but it was always us. Once they got to know us, because we've been here for 5 years in our home. I love my neighbors. They leave cookies for the holidays and everything, you know. It depends. Like I say, it's just like anywhere, you know. You're gonna have the ones who aren't accepting, you're gonna have the ones that are accepting. But we're not too far from Trier. It's 30 minutes. That's where I do a lot of my shopping. It's the oldest city in Germany. There's a lot of more Americanized Germans there. And what I mean by that is they speak English, you know, they're more in tune with people from different cultures. So, you know, they're more accepting. My neighborhood, like I say, I'm in the countryside. It's a hit or miss, you know, but what I've learned to do is just I don't pay attention to it. You know, I just love it. I embrace it. And if that's the way they feel, that's the way they feel, you know.
And I bet it must be really comforting to be outside of all the hustle and bustle of the city too, just a deep, different level of existence, right? Being.
It took time. It took us a year, to be honest, because I'm so used to being in the city. But I would never trade the country again. I love it. You know, I'm able to get where I need to go right away. It's quiet. You know, I'm able to. I think, to be honest with you, I've learned myself so much with this time living abroad over here in the countryside, because we're limited on a lot of things. You know, the cable, everything. So we do YouTube or different things like that. I've learned to read more, write in my journal. I've found myself a lot more since we've been here, you know, and I've been able to embrace a lot of things and be accepting and happy and enjoy life. So I wouldn't complain. I love it.
I love to hear that. So to wrap everything up,
Mhm.
do you have some last words of advice for those women that are contemplating, and you and I have been there before. You and I have been at the beginning of a journey of, we've had milestones in our life abroad. And any words of advice for someone who is just contemplating and they're just not quite sure how this big world, how they could fit into somewhere or find their little piece of paradise?
My advice, like I said, is to research. Research and don't expect the unexpected. Travel, like I always say, a lot of individuals, they'll go somewhere and they'll say, okay, this is where I want to go. I went there for a vacation. I enjoyed it. It's beautiful. Go a couple times. You want to go for a vacation, then you also want to go and probably just get an Airbnb and stay in the area with the local community and get to embrace it and see it a little
Yeah,
more. Then it goes back onto researching because it gives you a chance to feel it. Because when you move there, it's not going to be vacation, and a lot of individuals, they look at that. They look at all the happiness and all the good fun they had when they went to this location. They think it's going to be like that all the time. This is going to be your home. So you
yeah.
want to go ahead and research, go visit a few times and visit a few other places as well, and that gives you an idea of deciding, okay, well, this is what I want. I want hot. I don't want cold. I want the countryside. I don't want the city. So it gives you a chance to decide on where you want to go, but it falls back on research. Learn more about the culture, learn about the country. You can take advice from others, but that's what their decision is on that location is their decision. It's not your decision. So
It's so
it's
true.
you decide upon yourself.
That's so true. How can we get a hold of you, in touch with you, if someone would like to connect? I know you have a Facebook group also that you,
I do. It's Black expats from all over the world. And I also have we have actually Bethesda Kingdom Kids Academy. That's our academy on Facebook. So I'm on there all the time, those platforms. And then we also have relationship platform that we've implemented last year. That's actually Black expats from all over the world, professionals. It's actually expat for professionals. And that's for expats that live abroad and just want to connect with other expats on different levels. So they're able to find me on any one of those platforms.
so you have a little connect. Is it for dating or is it?
It is. It's actually for dating. Yeah, we did. We've implemented
Ah,
last November. We have about 400 members now, and we're still working on it, but and we're hoping we can go ahead and get that changed over to something else a little bigger once it gets a little larger. But it's also sisterhood to the Black expats from all over the world. Yeah, it's Melanin Expat Love Connection.
oh, okay. I'll put the link for that here for anyone that might be interested, because that's a really wonderful adventure venture.
It is, because I'll tell you, just to leave that on a side note, I was divorced and I've traveled a lot abroad, and dating is kind of hectic when you're living abroad. Some people it's easy, some people it's not. I met my husband abroad. He's Haitian. But I had sat back and I said, you know what, let me go ahead and do something just so professionals that do travel are able to connect. If it's not a love connection, it's just somebody who you can at least connect with, even if it's friends. So I went ahead and I implemented that about a year ago, and it's been pretty good. We're still working on little tweaks, but it's growing.
That's amazing. That's great. That sounds like a lot of fun. Tasha, thank you so much for spending time with us today. You have just given a breath of fresh air, I'm sure, to one, or maybe more people who really needed to hear your words today. And we look forward to seeing more of the wonderful things that you're doing in the expat uh, arena. And thanks again. I'll make sure that we get a chance to join your Facebook group, which I think will be very helpful also if for anyone that's looking
Definitely.
to expat abroad. And that dating thing sounds really cool. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Thank you
no
again.
problem. Thank you for having me.